We are in Hattiesburg, Mississippi at Southeastern Construction. This is a new version of Entrepreneurs in Mississippi. Welcome to Entrepreneurs in Mississippi. I'm here with Patrick Ward at Southeastern Construction in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Patrick, your business is growing. You and I have been circling for years. We grew up relatively close to each other. We finally met recently. I've learned a little about Southeastern and excited to tell the viewers of Entrepreneurs in Mississippi what you're doing here.
Yes, sir. Well, Perry, thank you for having us. I look forward to the talk today. Southeastern, thankfully, is growing. We're proud to be a Mississippi company, and I look forward to our talk today.
Great. So tell me, Southeastern Construction does large construction projects, government, private business. You're not in the home building business.
No, sir. So I'll give you a little bit of history on Southeastern. We started the business in 2005. In 2006, we actually started our corporation. And so we started doing residential renovations. We started doing home building, pretty much anything we could get our hands on. And 2008 came around. I don't have to explain what happened in 2008. And basically, we went into survival mode. We had built several spec houses, and so we just we really diversified, and that's what helped us to the next level. And so soon after that, we got into light commercial, and then doing some industrial work. And so in 2016, we did our last residential project. We still do a little bit of maintenance on the residential side for long-term customers, but today we have a commercial GC and maintenance division and an industrial maintenance division. And so we work all over Mississippi, in Louisiana and Alabama is where we're licensed. So on a day-to-day, we may change a door lock, and another crew's building a hotel. So we've continued our diversification throughout the years.
Right. Patrick, you're a young guy. You started this company in 2005, you said. How do you, I'm thinking you started working in construction. How do you decide to start your own deal? At that point, there was a lot of work around. You could have just kept working for somebody.
Yes, sir. So I went to I grew up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Went to Oak Grove High School, then went to Jones Junior College. I was third generation graduate of Jones Junior College. Went on to Mississippi State, and I got a double major in animal science and microbiology. And I was planning on going. I changed my major 4 or 5 times. Planning on going pharmacy school.
A lot of construction guys go for microbiology.
That's right. So my dad told me that all my education and 50 cents would get me a half a cup of coffee, and he asked me what I was going to do. So thankfully, when I was at Mississippi State, even thankfully before that, my parents and my grandfathers taught me how to work. And my dad made me have a different job every summer. So I had a skill. My granddad taught me carpentry, and so when I was at State, I worked on push mowers, helped build some fences, I built a pavilion, decks. I mean, I was always doing something to make some extra money. And so when I found out I didn't get in pharmacy school, I came back and I went to work for a guy that just doing odd end carpentry jobs. And then Katrina happened, and that's what really gave me the opportunity to really open Southeastern.
So you didn't really work in construction for somebody else.
I did for probably 8 or 10 months before I started, but growing up, I worked for industrial paint company one summer, and so at different times I worked for an electrician. So I worked in various areas in the summer.
Did you always know that you would do your own thing?
I did. I started out in pre-veterinary medicine, and I wanted to be a veterinarian, and then I changed that, and I wanted to be a lawyer, and then I wanted to be a pharmacist, but I always wanted to do my own thing. And so when I knew the skill, but most importantly, I knew how to work, and that's what I knew I could work hard, and I knew I would have an opportunity. And so in the community that I grew up in, it just, people have been supportive of Southeastern, and now I've met people, throughout the state, and it's been a challenge, but I love going to work every day.
I'm maybe focusing on it too much, but in that day, in 2005, Hattiesburg was growing. Hattiesburg's still growing today, but even you said Katrina gave you the opportunity because there's obviously a lot of work around. But there were a lot of work. There are big construction companies here. Some of the guys I grew up with worked with Hanco, for example, that gone on to be part of the ownership there. You could work for those guys and you get paid a lot of money. What made you decide, no, I'm going to do it on my own? Because it would have been easier to work for you.
Well, when I got out of college, first of all, I'm an only child, and I've always been very independent, and that's good and bad in some ways. I think my parents maybe put them through a little more than that they wanted to, but they really taught me to be independent, and they taught me when I went to college they didn't send me money, and that's why I had to get out and work. And so when I got out and started after college, when I worked for the gentleman doing carpentry work, I noticed how messy the job sites were. I noticed customers complaining about not getting called back and no schedules being met. And so I said, I can start a full service construction firm and with the highest level customer service, and I know I can make it. And there's some great general contractors in town that I have their healthy competition, but they didn't have the model that I liked. And there's I can't think of a company in Mississippi that really has our model. A lot of people think I'm crazy for the model we have, but it's a diverse model.
That's why we're here today. We heard that about you, Pat.
Yes. But I had some opportunity to work for other people.
You mentioned Katrina. Could you have gotten business? You're, for lack of a better word, you're a kid. You show up on my doorstep saying, hey, I can do this job. I'm thinking in Katrina, people just needed work done. That allowed you to get started?
I think so, but I also, I studied marketing and sales, and today, one of the issues in any business or any organization is communication. We have the most ways available to us today to communicate, and I'm pretty certain that we communicate less because we're not focused. And my approach was to go and meet with the customer, do what I said I was going to do, and communicate on the highest level. So by just returning phone calls and by just doing the simple old school principles, I think I would have gotten work. Katrina really opened my eyes to, hey, there's an opportunity there.
Right.
But when I really dug in 08 hit, and there wasn't a lot of work, I still had opportunity because my reputation was, he'll get the job done, and he will call you back, and that's our team today. That's the team. That's the way I've built a team is with those same type of people.
So I show up, you're 13, 14 years into this company, and by the way, we'll take some footage soon. This is a beautiful site here in Hattiesburg, and it's growing, and they're actually out doing, I think Patrick's employing other firms to build on Southeastern's office, which is something else that explains. But it looks like straight line growth. Has it been that way?
It's been we leveled off for a couple of years. I'd say 2 years. I was warned of this. You get to growing and you hire people and you bring people on board to fill positions versus hiring leaders and team members that really will fit in with your whole team. And we leveled off for a year or two, but starting 2017, really 16 kind of got cranked back up. But we've had growth every year but 2 years, and we were level. But 17, we really experienced a lot of growth. 18 was more growth, and 19 we're still on the, and we're seeing that for, we're already planning work for 2020. So I see a lot of growth, but it's in both of our divisions, the GC and the maintenance. But the maintenance really feeds the GC long term. That's our sales engine.
Got it, okay. So one of the reasons we're here today, we're in the classroom for the newly created Southeastern Construction, what's the term? You're training workers. Tell me about, we're literally in a classroom. You see the board, and I don't know, we haven't panned around, but there are TVs on the wall. It looks like it could be a vocational classroom at one of the local junior colleges or maybe high school. Why is that on your site? What are you doing here?
Okay, so the name of our program is the Community Workforce Institute. And since 2017, really 16, we've been using secondary employment sources to provide workers. Thankfully we have more work than we have employees. And you know, I'm not many businesses that are growing will tell you the same thing. So I was at a safety day last year, and I had met with people, you know, I'd met with a career tech. I've been asked to speak at those, and you know, and anyways, it just, when I went last year, I was talking shop with a guy at a safety day, and he was a guy from Pell City, Alabama, and he asked me, you know, I was complaining about not having enough workers, and he said, well,
I've heard business owners do that.
and he said, what are you going to do about it? And are you just going to complain, or are you going to do something about it? And so I knew right then that he had challenged me, and so he invited me over. Just so happens his father, John Garrison, this was Jason Garrison. They're my mentors in this program, and basically I'm copying what they're doing. I've tweaked it a little bit.
They're in Pell City, Alabama. That's right outside of Birmingham.
That's east of Birmingham. They're still erectors and steel fabricators. And, you know, they have about 22, 23 in their program. What I did was I immediately went to the local career tech programs. Currently, I'm working with Petal, Hattiesburg High, and Lamar County.
So this is high school.
This is high school. My target is to go into the, so there's three parts of the program. The part that we're doing right now is we have 15 of our employees, and we're teaching them core curriculum. And the first module is safety. That's as our business has grown and as we do more industrial work, our mod and our safety factors are really what get us more of the work than anything else. And so we have a huge
What's mod mean?
It's basically how many hours you worked versus your injuries. So and it allows you a discount on your workman's comp if it's below 1. It's a factor.
The insurance company is incredibly interested in that.
Yes, sir. And our mod is 0.78, which is we're proud of it. It's basically we get a 22% discount on our workman's comp. So that we have to show that as far as our proposal package. So the one part of the program is our in-house program. One part of it is going to be our internship program, and one part of it is going to be where they actually come during class in the fall and spring semester, and they come here. It may be in the afternoon, but it's going to be more. It's kind of like an old school co-op program. So currently, next week, we're going to Petal and Hattiesburg High, and we're interviewing. We have 10 positions this summer for summer internships. And so part of this program is to recruit workers in our local community. That's why we named it the Community Workforce Institute. I also named it the Community Workforce Institute because I want to invite the competition in. Because my vision for the program is for it to grow at a rate where it provides workers for other companies in the community. So, and I think it'll also long-term be a way that the local general contractors in the community can be more on a even playing field, but at the same time it'll help their relationship.
But Patrick, you can already do that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm an 17-year-old high school senior. I get into the program, do the classroom part, lucky enough to win a summer internship, then I can go to work for the competition down the road. I'm not indentured to you.
That's exactly right. So you can go work for the they can go work for the competition, but the competition is not out recruiting.
Right.
They're doing what I did. They're complaining about
Right.
not having enough
Absolutely.
workers. So I've actually gone to some of the competitors, told them about our program, and right now I'm getting a little pushback, and that's fine. We're going to continue with what
Well,
we're
the
doing.
reason is, let me be devil's advocate for just a moment. First of all, it's a great thing, but this costs you money. This is a beautiful building. You've got employees, people are coming to work right now. It's early on a Wednesday morning. You're paying for this. How do you make the P&L work?
So, without workers, we're gonna fail. And this is just it's a cost to doing business. It's real, and I take it further, it's not a cost, it's an investment. It's, there's an old saying that, the CFO looked at the CEO and said, man, it's costing us money to train these employees. And, the CEO looked at him and said, well, what happens if we don't train them and they stay? And so my point is
Right, if the guy said if we train them and they leave.
yeah. So it's still there's a lack of consistency in our workers, and even when you find a worker, you've got to spend so much time. So we're finding that once you tell the employee that, hey, you're gonna have to be trained, that may be the first opportunity that these employees have been given. So, like for example, our employees that we have right now that we're training, we pay them for 1 hour. That they're in classroom 2 times a week. One of those hours they're paid for, and one of them they have to give. So we're investing an hour in them, and they have to invest an
And
hour
they
in
have to show
themselves.
up.
That's right.
And presumably, there's metrics they have to meet. Some people won't make it.
So there's testing. Usually about every 3rd week there's a test. We're using the NCCER curriculum, which is known nationwide. It's the best program out there. I think there's 78 trades in the NCCER curriculum. So once they finish a program, they get a certificate, and they can take that certificate to Atlanta, Miami, Houston, and some contractors.
Or hopefully stay in
Or
Mississippi.
stay in Mississippi. but if they want to go and work, it means something to have an NCCER card.
Right.
And so they carry that in their wallet, and there's a lot of contractors that only hire NCCER certification.
You're making it happen. It's great. Let's, again, along the devil's advocate thing, look, you're a product of Jones County Junior College. I'm a product of PRC, Pearl River Junior College. Love Pearl River. I think we're probably a little better than Jones, but that's just a personal thing. But you and I both have friends, contacts both places. They do some of this education. How, is there not some tension between those guys and what you're trying to do? Are they gonna say they're doing this already?
Well, there's a huge budget, state of Mississippi, that provides funding for the junior colleges. There's a state workforce investment board that I think is a great. There's local businesses on it. There's junior colleges as far as the board itself. Back to your last question, to continue this question, we've applied for a grant through the State Workforce Investment Board to help funding with the program. The junior colleges will work with you some on the funding for the instructors. At the end of the day, I think they look at it from a little competition as far as fighting over funds, but the big picture is we can recruit their students. The career tech programs and the junior colleges have students, and we have to have students to become employees for us to be successful as a company. So the big picture is that we should be recruiting their students or helping them find job placement. the small picture, the short-term thinking is we're fighting over funds, and I don't see that.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're doing this. If you happen to get some government funding, great. If you don't, you're doing this.
That's
is
right.
what I've heard.
That's exactly right.
What about, does this keep a kid, a young lady or young man from going to junior college?
Well, we're setting up a fund with the Pine Belt Foundation, and if we have a student that didn't graduate high school, which we have a lot of employees that didn't graduate high school, we're promoting them to get a GED. If we're setting up a scholarship fund, then anyone can donate.
I'm familiar with Pine Belt Foundation. Great,
Great organization. And so we're gonna we've started a fund, and you can donate to anybody can donate to the fund. And what that is that's to allow scholarship money, because some of these students, they just need a career path. This whole program's basically is a career path. The career path could be going to work for Southeastern, going to work for someone else in the community, going out of state, or going to junior college and then senior college. There's going to be some students that elect any of those routes, and so we want to make sure that we want to make sure there's job availability. We also want to make sure there's funding if they need it to go to college.
Perfect. Shifting gears only slightly here. You compete in Alabama and Louisiana, I think, today for some jobs, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the business environment in Mississippi versus other states versus what you perceive to be maybe all over the Southeast, all over the country. I know for me, I worry about credit availability. You know, I'm involved in banking. Banking is interesting to me, and I'm concerned that it's harder to get credit. It's hard to get funding for projects in Mississippi as opposed to other states. But I'm not sure I have hard data behind that. What is your take on that?
Well, the thing that I see in Mississippi is there are some pretty hot markets in Mississippi. You know, you take let's go back to earlier I had discussed home building. I think that the home building industry in Mississippi is a huge industry. It's a huge industry in the United States. You know, some say it's the backbone of the economy. I mean, I think you can really monitor housing starts and you know, there's so many jobs. There's been studies in recent years I've read that there's 7 to 8 jobs created per house. You know, from mortgage lenders to, you know, real estate, closing attorneys across the board, even, you know, and then topping that with construction jobs. But Mississippi, in my opinion, has done a huge disgrace to the home builders in that the requirement that I see is a heartbeat. And anyone, they've got some laws, they don't enforce a statewide code.
Meaning I could go out and build a home tomorrow and I could contract for
More than likely, you would not be called, or if you were, there would be no disciplinary action taken. That's one of the main reasons I got out of the home building business, is because I was competing against subcontractors. I was competing against other people that had no, you know, they didn't have a business. They had a pickup truck and they didn't have a license. And so, you know, I think the state in general thinks they're doing something about that. And that even and putting a spin on the bankers, you know, if you stop the funding of that, is how you really stop it. And I voiced my opinion on that as well. So I think the home building industry, I'm a fan of. I'm still a member of the State Home Builders Association, the local Home Builders Association, and the national. It's a 3-in-1 membership, and I think it's vital that we've got a good home building organization. But I think the state really needs to examine how you know, there needs to really be disciplinary action on the unlicensed building activity. As far as the lending, I think from what I see, it is easier in other states for some of these companies to get some lending because of the population. I don't see Mississippi really, I think the economy is good, but I don't necessarily see it in growth mode as I see it in other markets in other
You've got to
states.
have population growing.
You've got to have population growth to really have growth.
going back to the licensing, there's a group that I know that I think does good work in the state called Mississippi Public Policy Institute. They are working very hard on licensing reform in the state. And one of the things, the Cosmetology Board, by the way, it's hard for me to understand why they exist and why we need stringent licensing of people in the cosmetology profession. It seems to be too stringent. So my experience is trying to work to reduce licensing. It would appear that you're self-serving when you say, oh, we need more licensing of people in the construction business because you're in it, you're a big established business. It sounds like you don't want other people to get in the business when you say that you want more licensing.
Okay, for example, a house is built and it's closed on.
Yep.
Everyone in the transaction, the realtor, the banker, the closing attorney, the appraiser, they all have to be licensed,
Right?
except the home builder. And that's not, you know, why are we not holding the guy that put the asset together, you know, liable for that? And a lot of it is you don't have a license, you're not held liable. You know, people have joked before and said, you know, just drop your license and get back into home building. And you know, I mean, it's that a lot of people do that. And so it's not that I don't
Can they be bonded?
Yes, I think bonding's all more on the financial end. But it's not that I don't want people to get in the home building business. I want them to play by the same rules. And you know, if you've got a group, and part of that is that you know, there's requirements on the financing end, and as far as approval process. Last week, I met with a couple that I know in North Mississippi. They asked me to come up and just look at their home. They're dealing with an they hired an unlicensed builder, and they didn't do their homework.
Right.
You know, most of the consumers really don't know what to ask, and it's,
I would not.
and so they didn't. You know, they're both educated. They're both. I mean, I'm really shocked that it got past them because they're both detailed, but they've got a mess. They're building a $500,000 house. It's probably going to cost them.
And it's just poor construction. They're not doing the job correctly.
It's very poor
Do
construction.
you think better licensing would eliminate the problem you just described?
Well, licensing, you have to take it a little step further. For a license, you know, the residential test is pretty easy. Commercial test is a little order, and you have to take the business law portion. Some states reciprocate, like in Louisiana and Alabama, they reciprocate, they still have to take the law part of their test to get our license. But the residential test is pretty easy, but the problem with the licensing is they don't require people to do continuing education and further their skill set. You know, it's the old mentality that, you know, that's the way we've always done it and that's the way we're going to do it. So, you know, realtors and, you know, my wife's a dental hygienist, you know, they plan part of their vacation or part of their, you know, out of town.
Constantly be going to
They have to get continuing ed, or they're not allowed to renew their license. And I think the construction industry is a real profession. I think you're a professional when you get into construction,
Right.
because you know you're typically dealing with someone's largest asset. Why would you not be licensed? Why would you not be forced to continue your education?
What's that specialized knowledge?
That's right.
All right, I'm gonna make sure that the Mississippi Public Policy is aware. I'm gonna bring up that viewpoint for sure, because if you're me, just, you know, and I go out and talk to people, oh, we gotta reduce regulations. Let's be honest, you're talking about having a level of, you're saying we need some regulation. You can call licensing the same as regulation. I get it. It's hard for me to disagree that home builders need licensing, but that is a form of regulation.
I agree. It is a form of regulation.
And it's not such an issue on the commercial side because these are big, sophisticated buyers of multi-million-dollar projects, and presumably they're not going to buy it from somebody without a track record.
Well, I have yet to do a commercial project where I was not called or sent an email by the Lending Institute. It's very easy to get on the State Board of Contractors website and check licensing. I know there are other things that we have to fill out. There's on the commercial industrial side, there's more fact checking. It's more of a, I guess you would say, a legitimate process as far as the underwriting goes to get approval. I don't see, you don't run into the problems that you run into in
Right.
residential.
We talked about, you and I were fortunate enough to head down to NASA, and we went to a practice down there. It's a great facility. They're expanding, and now they're going to the moon. The Stennis Space Facility in Mississippi is going to be a big part of that. There are a lot of out-of-state contractors that come in and do work at a place like that. Nothing wrong with that. We like out-of-state. But do we need a level playing field between Mississippi-based businesses bidding on Mississippi projects, or is that something that happens or needs to happen? Out of town contractors, they don't really. The only time they really bother me is during the storm. There's a lot of companies that they just travel and they work for insurance companies, and they work, and some, there you hear stories of people, not having a good experience or getting nothing wrong. But if an out of town contractor can come in and offer a customer a better price for their product, comparing apples to apples, I'm full on board with being competitive. It's what makes you better. There's an old saying, the best breakfast is competition. and so I don't have What about on government, these large government contracts? Do we need, can you compete for those?
Yes, sir. We actually, we do some fairly sizable government projects. But and a lot of those are federally funded. So I think it's right for someone that, if you pay federal income tax, to be able to bid on any federal job. I think that's just I think from the state level, I think, if it's a state, sometimes there's some funding on, with certain colleges, but I think if you're a state, if you pay state income tax, you should be able to bid on pretty much any state job.
Got it. Patrick, this is, thank you for spending the time. We could talk for days, and I hope you and I do. We're going to talk a lot more about what you're doing here, but it is inspiring. You're trying to train the local workforce, and good luck. I'm going to be out spreading the story of Southeastern Construction and all the things you're doing here. Thank you. This has been Entrepreneurs in Mississippi, and thanks for tuning in.